Well, welcome. Well, happy Lunar New Year, everyone. Oh my goodness, it has finally arrived. So, if you've been feeling a little bit pulled apart, I suppose, in between the sun and the moon and what is it, the Gregorian calendar and the lunar calendar, you're not alone. January is always a little bit challenging for me because my physical body, my biorhythm is a little bit more connected to the lunar cycles than the solar cycles. And this is different for male bodies and female bodies too. So just be aware of that. But I wanted to welcome all of you. Thank you for writing in to see where you're coming from. And we didn't record at the beginning, but it's just from all over the world, literally all over the world. So I am so excited today. And I wanted to officially introduce Chris here too, but let me introduce myself for a moment. So I call myself the Health Intuitive, and I'm also a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. And I'm a moon enthusiast, officially a moon enthusiast. And I've been leading women in reconnecting with the lunar cycles, especially during menopausal shifts, but especially for postmenopausal women. Now that I'm in postmenopause, I'm just really interested and curious, but also being supported by the lunar cycles. So that's what I've been teaching more and more and more. And some of you joined my lunar wisdom session that I did, the workshop that I did. And it was the first time I really showed and explored and shared with you all that I've been studying. So I hope you got a lot out of that. I've received lots of emails saying you did. So thank you so much. And I wanted to quickly introduce Chris, my husband. And you want to come on and do the little bit again?
Yeah, I just didn't say much about myself except that I'm your husband and background support and partner in crime. But I'm also a functional nutritional therapist, and I have a background, a master's degree in psychology, and I've worked in education for many, many years. Now around health and wellness, and just working alongside with Masami to support us as whole beings. We both are very connected on a spiritual level with ourselves, with our work, with everyone that we work with. And so that's an important facet of everything that we do. So you'll feel that coming through as well. So that's probably enough about me for now.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, so let's get into today's topic. And, as always, I have a lot to share, but I did create some slides so you can look through it. Feel free to screenshot it. I think it's important that we honor where these information is coming from. So if you do share it in your communities and things like that, if you can at least let them know that you learned some about the year of the dragon from this strange lady in a big giant red sweater called Masami Covey. I would really, really appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen. So I wanted to actually start this conversation about the year of the dragon, actually with what happened yesterday. So a massive X-class solar flare was detected coming from the sun just hours before Lunar New Year. And the similar things happened actually right as when we went into January 1st also. And so I recommend, and I really highly recommend you look up the image and maybe videos online to take a look at how beautiful the solar flare looks and how much this is influencing all of us. So the one that happened in January was X5 class. So it was a huge one too, but it ended up impacting the communication systems, not all across the earth, but in parts of the earth was really impacted from it. And electronics went down, some digital computers, communications, they got shut down, all that kind of things. So there's a huge geomagnetic storms on Earth that gets caused by these solar flares. And believe it or not, the one from yesterday was actually bigger, much, much bigger and more powerful than they initially seemed. And it was bigger than the one from January. So I suspect we're going to be seeing a lot more of the solar flares this year into 2025. So stay tuned to that as well and how that will impact globally, but it's on your internal physical and societal and politically. I think it's just going to impact a lot of us. So just stay tuned to that too. And I wanted to go over my slides from last year for those of you that joined me for the year of the rabbit. I talked about a couple of things and I just wanted to briefly go over them. So rabbits thrive in peaceful, maybe more stillness and less stress and joy and fun and having a little more playfulness. I said last year that's going to be important for you, and having this like moments to wander around, like say or wander around or wonderment. Yeah. So it's like curiosity. That was going to be very helpful for you. And I also talked about 3 C's, the importance of community, building community, friendships, and reevaluating some of your communities as well, and having more of this cooperations. That was the second C. And then last C was the communication. So sharing not only your knowledge, but also expressing gratitudes for one another, love for one another, all those things, right? And doing things that are more slow and steady. And I hope you remember that, we talked about the tortoise and hare story, and actually rabbit needed to learn to go slowly and steady. And the last thing that I mentioned about what rabbits will thrive in is that you getting out of labeling yourself. So labeling yourself as I'm a doctor, or I'm a lawyer, or I'm this, or I'm that, and becoming more of this professionally me means it's something Chris came up with this phrase years ago. It's just looking into what it is that you're interested in, expanding your field and learning about many different things, not because you are professionally studying that or you're getting your PhD in that, but because you are genuinely interested in it. And this was a really cool program that came about last year that members of Wisconsin's Whole Chunk Nation are training naturalists and nature lovers. And they're training them to like 40-hour classes to teach them how to go into the nature and learn about different plants and different species, and learning about it at the level that they can actually teach this to, but they don't have to go through the PhD to do it. So those are the things that were starting to happen also. So I thought that I just wanted to mention that rabbits do thrive in that kind of energy. But we also talked about rabbits' decline in a lot of this dualistic thinking, right? Us versus them, black and white, I'm the winner and you're the loser kind of thing, and extreme kind of extremity, extreme thinking, right? That really doesn't bring in the gentleness and the softness and understanding that we're not just the circadian rhythm, but we have a lunar rhythm too. So this was something that I was really working on last year to bring the awareness back to our feminine bodies, especially around the importance of the lunar cycles and not just get stuck in the sun cycles. But, we saw a lot of extreme, I would say, opinions, lots of dramas. Rabbits really do not do well in war zones and a lot of these conflicts. So I'm sure many of you felt your own inner prana, your energetic fields, even if physically, some of you that are very sensitive really felt overwhelmed by it, dragged down by it, and seeing these competitiveness showing up everywhere weren't really welcoming to your inner heart center. So I'm sure you've noticed all that too. So, and then another thing that the rabbits really decline is from distractions, going from one patch of grass to the next, and chewing on this grass and that grass. And so a lot of you might have noticed yourself sampling all year. And at the end of the year, finding yourself not really going into depth of something, and felt just like, well, I tried this, I tried that, and then this didn't work and that didn't work. Well, this worked a little bit, but that I'm not quite sure, that kind of thing. So it was like a lot of like a superficial learning that might have happened for you if you felt like last year was really tough for you. And rushing and hurrying and being overwhelmed and constant stress that can also come from going down into the rabbit hole too much. Just like maybe rethinking something over and over and over and revisiting the same pain over and over and over. Last year was not the good year to be doing a lot of that digging. And especially when it comes to, I would say, I saw this in my clients with too much trauma work that they were, or ancestral work. And then they were digging and digging and digging so deeply that it ended up really knocking their health down. So do pay attention to some of these, because there's a residual of the last year's energy still playing out. So find ways to balance that. Notice yourself. Did I thrive in it or did I decline in it? Was it a mixture of some things of thriving and decline? That's normal for all of us. But just notice, what areas you kind of went down into the rabbit hole with. Okay. And next that I want to go into is the Chinese zodiac signs. But before I go into the year of the dragon, which is what's understood in the Western culture, I wanted to maybe give you a little sense of this 12 Chinese zodiac original meaning. Okay. And I'm obviously not able to look at your chats. So while I'm presenting, if you could hold off on some questions and comments, I would really appreciate that. Since I'm in postmenopause, I do not multitask anymore. I used to be a multitasking queen, and I just don't. I just do one thing at a time these days, and that works out really well. So if I'm not looking at it and commenting, and if it's a technical thing, then you can reach out to Chris. Okay. So the 12 Chinese zodiac originally actually depicted the growing cycles of plants and other species, but especially like trees and flowers and grass. And they actually studied the nature for hundreds of years. And they basically out of that came up with the 12 zodiac original signs. And they were not based on creatures or animals at all. That came a little bit later. So this is the fifth zodiac year of the 12 zodiac sign systems. And the word tatsu, you see the word tatsu there. That's the Japanese word for this first character. Okay. It means dragon, but also has a lot of other meanings. And this fifth year is where, and I'll go into that a little bit here, but where you're finally like letting go of premature and immature phases of your growth. Maybe the plants, the trees, they're starting to form into and shape into its own identity. So you are actually finding your shape in the form of your identity. That's what this year is about. That's what this Tatsu year comes from. And it's not necessarily about the dragon. And I will talk about that a little bit more in the coming slides. And I will talk about the dragon as well, because the dragon did come a little bit later, right? So we're going to be asking ourselves, and this year is going to really ask us to let go and release once and for all. So things that you've been holding on to, the patterns that you've been holding on to, the end is coming to some of your patterns, old habits, and on the cosmic and societal level, we're going to see a lot of things ending and releasing and being removed and cutting off, letting go of your maybe, habitual ways that have not helped you. And you need to introduce a new way of looking at things, new way of living. That's going to really come to fruition this year. And don't fight that. Don't fight the ending and release, because that's going to cause you to struggle even more if you do that. Okay. And we have been afraid to let go. Like some of us been very afraid of letting go. But this is when this year is going to challenge all of us to stop being fearful and tap into our deep, courageous heart and courageous body and courageous being that you are. Okay. And, we are often fearful of uncertainty, of losing your familiar identity, what is comfortable and what feels stable. But you don't really have a choice this year. You are riding the back of the dragon or being dragged along either way. Okay. You're going to ride this year called Tatsu. And Tatsu, and also the character, also means to shake and to quake and to wobble. So you're going to notice that on the global scale. So the earthquakes, and some of you have heard the news about the earthquakes that one of the Hawaii Islands experienced yesterday that came in. As I was preparing the notes, that news popped up and I was like, wow, here we go, right? And you might feel things shaking inside you and wobbling, but I think the shaking up is really important. Like after creatures, like let's choose like a horse or something, if the horse experiences stress, the horse will shake itself off, right? It's kind of like that. You need to shake yourself off of some of the old patterns that's lodged onto your DNA, your tissues, your fascia, so that you can create a different form and a shape of who you are. And there's a lot of opportunities for you this year to shake off the old and start to experience the new. But it's still in the fifth stage of that. Think of the plants growing and forming and shaping. And now you get to kind of name what that plant is. You're starting to wonder, oh, could that be an oak tree that is starting to grow? You don't quite know yet, but you're starting to see the difference. You're differentiating a little bit. That's what's happening. And it's a preparatory year again in terms of finding who you are, but you're beginning to arrange yourself. You're arranging different parts, different fragmented selves, and bringing them back in. So you're organizing yourself a little bit more. So last year, if you felt a lot more, which I did feel, disorganized, felt like you had a lot of different parts, needing your attentions that felt like they were just outside of you, that fragmented self that I just mentioned. If you felt that way, this is the year that you're going to start to bring all those parts back to you and begin to arrange and organize. So it's an exciting year as well. So let's go into the dragon itself. And, this mythical creature, right? Out of 12 creatures in the zodiac signs, this is the only mythical creature that they assigned. And I find that very interesting. And what they did with the dragon is that they didn't just go into a dragon and say, we're just going to design a dragon based on, maybe existing dragon kind of thing. But because the dragon is a mythical creature, who knows, who came together and decided this, but they put all these things together. So you can see in the screen that head was based on the camel. Some people say maybe a cow. Mouth is a crocodile. Antlers came from deer. Eyes, demon or jinn. And demon and jinn, that genie, the word genie actually comes from that. So it's kind of fun to know that there's a mystery behind it and there's a magic behind it. And the eyes were those, but the neck is based on the snake. Belly is a water spirit snake. So it's another mythical creature that they used. And scales from fish, and talons and claws, they came from falcon and hawk. And the paws came from tiger. So when you say dragon, I want you to be a lot more aware of the fact that you will be tapping into all these creatures throughout the year. So don't look at this year as just like a dragon, a singular dragon image, but all the characteristics and attributes and traits and qualities and strengths and weaknesses and and more are going to play out throughout the year. And I believe that all these creatures are going to come and help you throughout the year and to assist you in moving forward, assist you in riding this creature called the dragon. And so the camel, as many of you know, they tend to be good-tempered, patient, and intelligent, right? And camels are very strong. So find that strength in you. They can carry up to 900 pounds for 25 miles per day. That's incredible, right? And they can survive in the hot conditions of the desert, and they could go on without water for 8 days or longer, right? So it's a symbol to me of resilience and endurance. And, to me, I think the ancient Chinese people that came up with this as the fifth year zodiac sign really wanted to honor all of us. I think it was like a message hidden behind this image that we have all this, we can do this. And it seems like the fifth year, the dragon year, comes always at a very tough, challenging times in our history. 2012, year 2000, and also every dragon year, we have massive amount of elections all across the globe. All across the globe, we have elections. So there's a lot of changing, old to new that's happening. So for instance, like let's go into other animals too. I'm not going to go through all of them, but like say antlers, right? It's protection against predators. That's why those antlers are there. You can also look at it as horns as well. And antenna, like especially for like a moose, it's an antenna for hearing other animals and expands its hearing. So there's that going on here too. And it's not just the male creatures, male animals that have antlers. Actually, reindeers actually have female and male. They have antlers too. And so it's like foraging through the snow. It's the antlers help you to move the debris, move the obstacles so that you can go forward. And eyes of the demon and the jinn that I talked about, that word genie actually comes from that. You get to tap into otherworldly vision. So clairvoyance, and I would say other clairs, right? So clairaudience, the hearing abilities that come from antlers are going to be there too. And we're going to be tapping into clear seeing a lot. And we are going to want to look into our own maybe health of your third eye. And the third eye is your pineal gland. And the health of the pineal gland, which I actually mentioned a little bit on my lunar wisdom program that I just did a couple days ago, but there's going to be a huge lunar connections to that cycles that's going to support your health of pineal gland, because the pineal gland is seen as a lunar sensor now in the scientific world. And there's a direct connection to how the lunar cycles work, and that impacts your abilities to maintain the health of the pineal gland. So definitely pay attention to the moon cycles. And the hawk and falcon, talons give these birds like a secure grip, right? Abilities to hold on and really, it could feed you as well, right? If you don't have that, these birds don't have that, they can't feed themselves and pull things apart and look at it. That's another thing that we'll talk about soon, but the word discernment is really important for that. And tiger's paws are quite padded and large. I recommend you look up the paws of the tigers, but they are huge. So they can walk through all kinds of environment, whether it's deep snow or jungle. They can walk through it in silence and quietly, but also they can maneuver different areas, even water, swampy areas, all that. So that's all equipped for us. So by joining my call, you know that you're not just dealing with mythical creature of the dragon, but you know how the ancient people brought this together as a gift for us. Right at the 5th year of the 12-year cycles, that gets a little tough and a little bit up and down. Okay. And the next thing is that I believe that this is the year that feels like beginning of the end. And when I look up the phrase beginning of the end in the dictionary, it says the point where something starts to get gradually worse until fails or ends completely. And another definition was the start of a series of events that leads to the end. So it could be happening within yourself. It could be happening globally, it's something that we will have to see what is going to end and what is going to begin. It's a very much of a Kali energy to me. If you know of Kali's energy, it's like break it down and, destroy the patterns that no longer serve you so that the new earth can come in, so that the new light can shine, so that the newness can come into this world. But we have to be very careful about what we're letting go and what we're welcoming. And that's going to depend on individuals' efforts and awareness as well, I think. And we have stepped through the threshold, I think, finally. The last several years since 2019, Chris and I have been talking a lot about the threshold and the liminal space. But this is the year that you have actually stepped over that threshold. And we're welcoming this very much of a new energy. And what used to be considered normal and common and seen as standard will no longer work or relied upon. And what was sacred and honored and respected is already being challenged and dismissed now. So 2024 might be considered a long goodbye, maybe a final stage of goodbye as we dramatically shift from, for the next 7 to 10 years, so that we finish the 12-year cycle of that zodiac sign. So this is a key changeover year. I really feel that. And many elections, like I said, will be happening throughout the world. Dragon New Year always has a lot of shifts and changes. So stay tuned to even not just the maybe nationwide, global level changes, but your community level issues too. So get involved in your local elections. Get involved in what's happening right around your neighborhood that you want to change or you want to welcome the new. And then we will experience monumental shifts in human history. in our society, for our earth, evolution of both, you know, individual and collectively, I think we're going to be shifting quite a bit because it's like a dragon level shifts. Okay. Changing of the guard is happening between old and new. This lunar year is the impetus for things to start moving. And I'll talk about movements a lot a little bit later here, but intensification of good and bad both can be activated. Okay. So dragons do not, and I'm going to just call it dragons because I mean, there's a multiple elements to this dragon, isn't it? But there's really no judgment. It's not going to sit there and judge this is a good action and this is a bad action. It's just going to intensify all of the above, and right or wrong, right and wrong in this case, and haves and have nots are going to really show up also because everything just gets really spotlighted and emphasized. Life and death, peace and war, and tremendously energizing year this is. And lots of stimulation and excitement is going to happen. So in a way, don't get too carried away by the newness that you forget the beauty of the old either, right? So that's something that the dragon's pitfalls come in, is that they get very stimulated and excitement happens, then the dragons can abandon what's really grounding to us. So it's a fast moving, especially until about April, like I would say mid to late April, but especially in the United States, you're going to feel that, fast moving things from the great American eclipses that will be happening, which I'll talk about that a little bit later. But and numerologically, 2024 is the number 8. So this infinity, cycles, like it's just the dragon will start riding the figure 8 and it just starts to gain the momentum and it will go, go, go. And so I recommend you take a moment and write down what it is that you value and cherish that's lasting, that is lasting for your life. So you don't get caught in the speed of things and forget what they are. Okay. And the prosperity and opportunities and innovations are going to be readily available to all of us. And AI, which I will talk about shortly here, but can give us incredible tools, technologies, and techniques and efficiency. And I do think that we're going to see a lot more biotechnologies. So in the medical fields, I think there'll be a lot of breakthroughs and things like that, lots of new discoveries, the era of unconventional thinking and doing. So if you're like me, that's always outside the box, I like to think outside the box, this is a great year for you to really cultivate that part of you. Think outside the box constantly, and that's going to be rewarded quite a bit. And dragon defies gravity, right? And defies ordinary thinking and conventional rules and imposed limitations. So if you've been feeling so stifled by a lot of a lot of these like rules and defined way that you're supposed to show up to this world, the labels that you've been carrying around since childhood, you were told that you're this and that by your mother or your father or a teacher or society or college or whatever, that's going to get broken free a lot. So you can really free up your movements. So stay tuned to that. And I wanted to share Roka's poem here, and maybe I'm going to have Chris chime in and read this poem for us.
Yeah, this is a poem that we have shared a number of times because we both love it. But take this image that Masami shared of the dragon and all of those composite parts that it has from the different animal features, because this is something all of us have. Like Masami said, we have these different qualities that the dragon is reminding us to bring forward. We're all made out of different qualities, many of which we don't exercise. So listen to these words from Rainer Maria Rilke. He said, "I live my life in widening circles that reach out across the world. I may not complete this last one, but I give myself to it. I circle around God, around the primordial tower. I've been circling for thousands of years, and I still don't know. Am I a falcon, a storm, or a great song?" And it's that last series of questions that this dragon year is really bringing forward for us. What am I in the midst of all of this? Am I a falcon, a storm, or a great song? This is the year to find out and to answer those questions.
Mm, thank you, Chris. I just love this quote. And Chris and I were having a conversation around this year of the dragon. And he's like, "Oh, that reminds me of that poem." And I said, "Oh my goodness, that's perfect." Because I think this is the year that you're going to really chew on this poem. You're going to be able to digest this and metabolize this and feel into this. So, take in that beautiful line. I still don't know. Am I a falcon, a storm, or a great song? And I would say you are all of the above. Yeah. So then let's go into the next, which is what would the dragon reveal this year, right? I feel that this dragon is the guardian of new reality. It is the guardian of new reality and holds and reveals many, many paradoxes and the combinations of paradoxes. So let's go through some of them. But the truth and the deceptions, the dragon is just going to show that for all of us. It, like I said, it does not distinguish what's good and bad. It is not here to judge, nor to teach us in a way. It just reveals a lot of things for us, the limitations and the limitlessness. And I think the limitations that you have created within yourself, limitations that you have actually adapted throughout your life, depending on your, who knows, culture, where you grew up, education, your gender, your age, whatever that may be. You want to explore, what am I artificially or maybe, purposely or without even knowing, subconsciously creating more limitations in you, and tap into the limitlessness. What does that look like? What does that feel like? And I would love for you to embody that a little bit more, move through the limitlessness, and also discrepancies and inconsistencies in the world, but within yourself. That's going to get revealed a lot. So you want to ask yourself this question of, how am I being inconsistent? And a lot of times, when I work with clients and I work with their body, mind, and spirit, but when it comes to physiology, a lot of people say, I want to be healthy. And I always have my first intake form. I always have this really important question. And 100% of the time, everybody answers yes. But the question is, are you willing to change? Are you willing to work on the recommendations that I'll be making? And they have to answer yes, or I do not work with that person, right? However, the moment we go into the sessions, that yes oftentimes goes away and it goes into maybe, okay, maybe I'll try a little bit, So it's like, it's inconsistent. Are you in or are you not? I think the dragon's going to be asking you that. Are you in or are you not? Okay. And, Erlene, it's so lovely to see you and you smile. I just love you. Love you. Yeah. I just have to say it because your facial expressions are so supportive for me too. So thank you. And the dragon is going to reveal muck and yuck. And I was going to put up one more word, but I'm like, oh, this might be gross. So I didn't put it in, but it's going to reveal muck and yuck and pus. Okay. Because the word pus in Japanese means beginning, means to begin. Isn't that crazy? So the word, for those of you that are from Japan, I know there are some of you that speak Japanese on this call, it's umidasu, umu. So the dragon energy is the birth, right? So, but to birth, you may have to release some of the pus. Think about the butterflies, right? Think about the goo that they're living inside while they are forming who they are. But you have to release that little goo and pus in order for the butterfly to form and shape into a butterfly. So that's what we will be doing. We'll be releasing some pus. Okay, internally and externally. Okay, so that doesn't just go for the society at large. Okay, and movements become so important. Stagnation is a killer. As many of you know, sitting too much is worse than smoking cigarettes, right? In the century that we're in, they're saying that the sitting down is causing so much havoc in our bodies, in our physiology, in our health, that this is going to become the next challenge for all of us. And it's tough because I'm doing this call sitting down. So many of us on Zoom calls all the time, but get a stand-up desk, do whatever you can to really mitigate that kind of a too much sitting. And too much sitting is actually connected to your estrogen having some issues. Okay, you can actually produce and expand more E1, and that can become a little bit more of an inflammatory conditions. And sitting down too much has been scientifically shown to increase estrogen, more dominant cancers in women. So please be a lot more aware of how much am I moving. Okay. And we're going to also see movements in terms of migration, immigration, relocation. and fluctuations. Okay. And lots of movements in the world: finance, people, leadership, relationships, power, where you live. So notice all these movements are happening. Maybe this is the year that you've been like wondering, am I going to be moving this year? Well, there's a lot of dragon energy that is going to be supportive of that move, whether it's shifting your work, maybe moving away from where you live to another state or another country. I think there's a lot of support here behind it for you. And letting go of some of the stagnations come from you standing up and moving large muscles like your quads, and then also things like calves. So lower extremities movements are going to be very important. For those of you that watched my most recent YouTube channel, I showed you a very important meridian point to access that, to move the create more movements and flow, and letting go of the stagnations and edema and water retentions. So go back to my YouTube video that I just posted, and it'll be on there. Okay, the next thing is the challenges we may face during this dragon year is the augmented reality and AI are going to challenge our reality. And this is when you have to really ask yourself, what is real anymore? Okay. And the younger generation is going to have to ask that more than probably older generations, because we might have a little bit more that we can tap into what is real, because reality is going to begin to blur. Like, not just the AI, but non-human intelligence and the many cosmic level influences we're going to be experiencing. Because remember, the dragon can go way up in the cosmic level, and it can go way down into the earthly matter and into the core of the earth. So it's a wide range of experiences that I think we're going to have that's going to augment our reality. And AI, a little side note here is like the Jeffrey Hinton, maybe you've heard of him, but who resigned his job at Google, said AI will cause enormous harm as well as enormous good. So it's just going to have both. It's going to be both. Digital world, the computer mediated world, and the digital currencies and fake news and Bitcoin and you name it, all these things are going to be kind of in everybody's psyche now. And further disconnect from one another, I think we're going to see that on the side that is going to be challenging for us is the mental health crisis can worsen this year because of our augmented reality that can take over people's lives so much that they will have disconnect from one another. And we could rely too heavily sometimes on the technology to quote unquote fix and cure this biological, beautiful body, right? You know how much I love working on the bodies. This vehicle, this divine vehicle that's carrying us and allowing us to ride the backs of the dragons. If we rely too much on the technology and biotechnologies to fix us, we're going to find ourselves in really terrible places. And we forget the importance of daily practice and attending to your biology and physiology. I talk about this all the time. Throughout the year, I will be introducing this through my YouTube channel to how to take care of your biology. So, always stay tuned to that. And earthquakes, we talked about heavy rain, snow. It's already happening. We just had like another 10 inches of snow just in less than 12 hours. We're going to see a lot of just intensification of a lot of the different elements. So whether it's wind or fire or water or rain, oceans to rivers, quakes to avalanches, a lot of things like that. And eclipses, I think it's worth mentioning a little bit here, but the Great American Total Solar Eclipse on April 8th, it will impact the United States quite a bit. And this is how my mind works. That I'm sure some of you have gotten to know my own way of looking at things, but I love to step back and look at correlations and connections. So all of a sudden, I decided to look at the map of Civil War. Yeah, I know it's crazy, right? But I looked at the Civil War map and I looked up the battles on the map. And I put side by side the Great American Total Solar Eclipse map together. And I saw so many similarities, meaning where it's going to go and where the battles were. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is that because intuitively I felt like, wow, this is amazing. I need to talk about this. We need to support one another during this time, especially in April. We need to support one another, not just the United States, but what happens in the United States have a great deal of tsunami effect. We all know this, right? So we have a responsibility to support one another. And we will be reflecting on the wounds and the suffering of the world caused by wars, bigotry, and disparities, and these global, environment-based, climate change-based migrations. I think we're going to be really dealing with that. But this is a chance to really elevate our consciousness and heal deep wounds that come from hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. And I'm not just talking about the Civil War in the United States, but that was one of the examples that came to me as I was preparing this. And it's a solar flare rich year. Nobody can predict when the next solar flare is. But just like I said, it just happened yesterday, just like welcoming this Lunar New Year. It's like, here we go. So I'm calling it the combustive year with more and more solar flares that we're going to be experiencing. And just a couple more slides here, but what is required of us is the discernment and the critical thinking. And so ask what matters to you. Ask questions and don't take what's been presented to you at a face value. Okay, you will want to navigate the beginning of the end year that this is with your eyes wide open, not closed, and use that demon eyes. Okay, use that creature's eyes to see through things. And beginning of the end, this is the beginning of the end to simply trust what you hear and see. This is the beginning of our spiritual maturity and tapping into your own discernment and critical thinking and critical knowing. Hearing all that. Okay, it's too late to put AI in our digital world, back into the box, right? So just know that there's this outside influences that are going to be challenging to all of us. That's why I tap into the 9 creatures that make up the dragon. And the sovereignty, self-regulating, right? So sovereignty is about knowing when to regulate yourself. It's the self-ruling. So you're not ruled by other things. And it's about really finding your gut. Dantian, the first Dantian is going to become very important. It's between the first and second chakra. That region is your self-knowing space. And so really work on your lower digestive systems as well. And know your ups and downs. Know when you're riding up and when you're riding down with the dragon. And not handing over your power and your authority to others so easily, okay? Just because others have put themselves in a position of authority and they have a label that says, I'm this, I'm that, and I know better than you. No, you question that, okay? We will need more empowered decision-making this year. And health dilemma is going to really kick in here. And I'm going to hand it over to Chris for a moment and just have him talk a little bit about the 1714 dilemma, okay?
This is something that came out from a study a few years back. And basically what it says is that on average, this is a study on the US medical system. And so in the United States, the average was for a medical doctor, just a regular practitioner, to be about 17 years behind in the current application of the science. And then out of all of the doctors that are following it, only about 14% of medical personnel are actually staying up to date with the research. So what that does is it creates a lag in the standard of care and what you receive when you go in for the complications or questions that you have for your practitioner. And so that's why Masami is saying it's so important for you to be an advocate for yourself and to really question and feel what is your gut telling you about the treatment being offered, because they're required by law in this country to offer prescribed treatments, and they can't really veer outside of that because it could expose them to a lawsuit. But what we find is interviews with doctors who say, you know what, I really, really wouldn't have chosen to prescribe a statin for this person, but I had to because that's the standard of care. So think about this in terms of starting a conversation, starting a dialogue with your medical practitioner as you're taking care of yourself this year, because you really do have that authority. You're giving the authority to them when you ask them to treat you, but you have that authority within you also to question and come up with the best course of treatment for yourself. So just remember that as we go through this year of the dragon.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. And I think the same goes for finance as well, and then some of you that have taken my finance based workshops, I talk about money as just another element like water, air, earth, right? Really get to know money. your finance, need to attend to your own money and learn about money. It's another form of energy, right? So educate yourself and getting to know what's happening. I have given my authority away to somebody else to manage my finances. Well, maybe go back, listen to them, or maybe talk to them, question them, get to know, open those statements and get to know. Okay. And also this year, it's going to require a lot of strength and suppleness and metabolic energy. Especially physically. So muscle strength becomes very important. So those of you that are in postmenopause, sarcopenia is a big issue, right? The loss of muscle strength and muscle masses. So work on your muscles. And I think this is the year that we're going to be working more and more around fascial health. Fascia was something I started studying in 2006, and I've been trained through the fascial studies and that kind of a thinking. But moving not only based on the musculatures and your bones, but how do you move using your fascia? That's going to become very important. Managing your blood sugar, as always, extremely important, because if you're not managing your blood sugar, you're going to go up and down with the dragon, and it's going to really be too much for your physiology, your system to handle. And clearly define your vision and ask, what is my highest vision for this year in order for me to shape and form who I am? And at the end, we will do a standing, just a quick meditation that I will bring this back up again. Okay. And be precise with your vision. Okay. I ask my clients, like, what is your vision? What is your focus? And, oftentimes I hear these kind of comments like, oh, I just want to have more joyful life, happiness, light, and freedom. And okay, those are all wonderful. And I just want to heal people. It's like, that's great. But what are you going to do to do that work? What are you going to do to create more good health in your life? Be specific about what you're doing, what you're going to do. What actions are you going to take? Be realistic. And, I just read an article that said article and a study that came out. The title was called Optimism Mindset Linked to Poor Decision Making. Okay. Optimism mindset linked to poor decision making. So especially like while the power of the positive thinking may boost confidence, obviously, positive thinking has a lot of good studies. It may not be the best path to successful, especially when it comes to your financial decision. Okay. So optimism, great. But let's just look at all things. Okay. Let's not just get all into the ascension and light and positivity, but let's look at the darkness. Let's look at the dark moon phase. Let's look at the underground issues. Let's look at the yuck and muck also. All right. Without that balance, it's really hard to make good decisions. Okay. Especially this year. In the realm of imaginal and imagination, I know the word imaginal and imagination are different, but remember that the dragon is going to require you to tap into both of those. And I'm getting closer to the top of the hour, so I won't go into the differences between imagination and imaginal, but dragon is going to defy gravity and impose limitations. So think big, okay? Miracles can happen and will happen this year. And I think we can tap into the magical thinking as well as realistic thinking. Okay. Myth can become a part of our reality as well this year. And ride the dragon's back, going to show us cosmic level of earth and the sky. So journey on. But the key is that you have to be willing to travel up and down on the dragon's back. Get on it. Okay. Well, even you don't want to, you're already on it though, by the way. Okay. The year of great potential and opportunities for those who are willing to ride the dragon and really willing to ride the waves of challenges and changes. And dragon offers itself as a vehicle for transcending limitations. So willingness and courage to trust this journey that we're all on individually and collectively is going to be very important. And I think it's worth saying the self-esteem is one of those words that's kind of got lost. Nobody's really talking about self-esteem much, but that came up again for me intuitively. I'm like, tap into your self-esteem, work on your self-esteem, the esteem, right? And Carolyn Mace calls it the fundamental power. The self-esteem is a core power that is essential to our evolutionary progress. We are evolving as species. We're evolving together, okay? And the evolution is not always up, 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 and better, and light, and light, and light, okay? Evolutions have ups and downs. That's just a part of it. But that is what self-esteem gives us. It gives us the core to do that. And your potential for success in life, especially this year, is determined by how much you respect and value who you truly are. Okay. And the heart center is going to become very important this year. I would say the gut center also, and less intellectual emphasis. Yay, right? Because we're going to bring the yin energy again and the balance of the yang energy again, the lunar and the solar. So we overemphasize, especially in the Western world, about can this be proven? Can this be intellectually analyzed? But a lot of things, these different intelligence are going to be welcomed this year. Thank God. Plant wisdom, the elemental wisdom, the wisdom that comes from animals, other sentient beings, the wisdom that can come from maybe non-human earthly realm. We don't know, but be open. And I just wanted to quick show you a picture because I was looking for something writing on the dragon. And I have to tell you, this is, I know. For those of you that grew up in Japan, you know exactly what this image is from. This was a children's program that was airing every Saturday in the evening for half an hour that talked about Japanese old legends and folk tales. And in the beginning of the program, there was this cute, really wonderful music that shows up in this childlike creature that's riding the dragon. This childlike creature is the kind of a connection and a child god of the thunder and lightning. Okay, this is not a human child per se, but it's a lightning and the thunder god that's riding the dragon's back, and it takes us on this journey up into the sky, into the earth. And so I grew up with this imagination since I was a little kid, but I just wanted to give you the gift of this imagination. You need this realm of that because that's what you're going to be doing this year. Okay, and it just have a couple more, everyone, just a couple more. So qualities of this year is all about the morning hours, everyone. So if you're a night owl, you need to start shifting. Okay, start to go to bed every day, or maybe 1 week at a time. Start shifting your clock 10 minutes earlier, till you can get to the point that you're asleep or in bed by 10:45, 11 o'clock. Okay, so that you don't miss out on a beautiful healing period of your endocrine system, because that's what happens in between the hours of 10 and midnight. You can heal a lot of your thyroid system, but also like adrenals and your hypothalamus, pituitary. They love those hours when they can go to bed. And the qualities of between 7 and 9 a.m., this is going to be the energizing time for you. This is when you want to sit down and plan your day. This is when you can clear your mind, maybe through Qigong, maybe doing a little bit of a yoga, maybe sun gazing, because this is the Eastern sun period. This year's dragon, the wood dragon, is all about the east facing. So it's the morning sun that's going to be extremely important for you. And I believe that the new moon is going to be very important. The dark moon period is going to be very important, because that's when the moon is actually rising as the sun is rising too. Okay. And the spring, it's the spring that pushing things forward and, moving up through the soil and informing who you are. Okay. The wood dragon qualities are strength, courage, creativity, innovation, like all the stuff I've been talking about. But the pitfalls of the wood element dragon, is that they can get kind of like exhausted and less enthusiastic and shut down and get a little bit fearful. So if you notice yourself shutting down and fearful, go expose your pineal gland and your eyes, not eyes themselves, but maybe eyelids, your forehead area, to the Eastern sun in the morning. Okay, very important. And it's part of the spring. So move and growing and expansion, fast moving. That's what's kind of like, it's like a growing, child. But we're going to go through some growing pains too, just as the child would go through, right? But it's a very much of a gifted time. Okay. And incorporating moon cycles will be quite necessary, especially for women this year, because things are going to move fast. So, if you incorporate the moon cycles, you can ground yourself better with the cosmic rhythm and follow the hormonal rhythm better, because female bodies do not work in 24-hour cycles, right? Our hormones work with the monthly cycles. So you want to get to know that and work with the lunar cycles on that. And then connect with your home. And I love this idea that all sickness is homesickness, So remember, when you feel sick, you're homesick, okay? I moved from Japan to the United States, the northern part of Minnesota. I was about 16 years old by myself. I didn't speak a word of English, and I went through tremendous homesickness. I gained about 30 pounds. I became really not healthy. I was sick almost every month. I was put on antibiotics just about 6 to 7 times per year when I first moved because I was homesick. I had no language that I could express myself with, right? So this is the year that you're going to define what home is for you and make your home homier than ever before. Okay. Clean your home, clean your front door, welcome the divine, welcome the energies, prana that's coming through, and tap into the culture that you relate to, connect with, foods, music, nature, colors, and smells, and languages that define you connecting to the home. Okay. But not necessarily on this like a good old days. I wish I could go back to the 1940s. It's not that kind of attitude of a nostalgia and good old days. Okay. That is not going to work. And if you continue to be stuck there, the dragon is going to really challenge you. So redefine what home is based on you, not based on the labels and based on what was shoved down your throat. Okay. And I think it's important that we revisit what's been lost and discarded, what's been disrespected. And, what we used to respect and revered, the reverence can be lost right now if you don't honor what's important, what was important. So don't just say, oh, this is just all about the new this year. No, no, no. Revisit what is the grounding force for you. What is the foundation for you? And this is when the foundation of your health becomes very important too. Okay. So physical and mental health, it will become a very key in the dragon year. Emotional health was a lot to do with the year of the rabbit. And this is going to be more of a mental health, although I do not separate body, mind, spirit, emotions, mental health. None of that is separated. How your gut health is going to impact your emotional health. How your overall health is going to impact your mental health. But physical and mental health take a center stage finally this year. It's been creeping up. We want to take that as a center stage since 2019. But I think this is the year is going to be a lot of things going to point to our own overall health. And so value your body in the biorhythm of yourself. And the biorhythm has to include the lunar cycles to me, especially for women. And you will be and you will be and will have to be more disciplined and devoted to your own health and well-being, which we've kind of talked about. Take the sovereignty back, authority back, okay, to your own decision making. Become more educated about your body and how it needs to be cared for, and connect between body and mind are there. So don't just work on a mental health when you're not working on a gut health, right? Learn to move your body from fascia, like I said, and prioritize your sleep, because wood dragon year is all about the morning hours. And the liver, gallbladder, very important because it's a wood element. Wood element is a liver and gallbladder. However, intuitively, I feel kidneys really kicking in this year. The health of the kidneys, really important. And, you can look up, what do kidneys do? But one of the things that kidneys do is that they are the gatekeeper. They're the holder of your ancestral energy. It is the energy, the jinn, the prana that you received when you first came into this world. So honor the kidneys as well. Okay. And if you do Qigong, Tai Chi, any of the yin yoga, and if you are familiar with the kidneys, which I will be putting videos up on YouTube about this too, but really focus on the kidneys. Okay. And my favorite points, right? For those of you that are following my work, K1 point at the bottom of your foot, right? That's a great spot to address and ground with. Okay. And this is the last slide, everyone. So thank you for staying with me. So what you can focus on, a lot of things I said, but the movements, which I talked about, don't get stagnant this year. Okay. Basic needs. That's waking up in the morning, taking care of your health. This isn't about getting fancy with more of the research of the world that we live in, right? So much of the functional medicine too have taken a crazy road now with one particular molecule that they study or one area of the body. Somebody will only study about SIBO, or one will only study about the thyroid, and they're not seeing the connections. Like your thyroid health will not improve unless and until you take care of your liver, right? And SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, you cannot address that long term until you address how you're digesting at the stomach level, at the level of your hydrochloric acid as well. So go back to water intake, sleep, managing your stress, but also what are you eating? When are you eating? I think when you eat is going to become a really important subject. And, I'm not going to go into huge details because I talk about this all the time. But in Japan, we say if you eat late, you're going to invite illnesses to your life. So keep that in mind. And late means anything past 7 or so is late. Okay. So coming back to basics, right? And discernment, clear vision, intentions, hold that clear vision and have the courage to ride the ups and downs of this beautiful journey that we have. Okay. So I'll stop the share and let's all of us stand up since we need to move. And as you're standing up, let's come up with a clear vision of what it is that you want to hold this year. Clear vision and intention. What do you value and what do you want to see expand and unfold this year? Okay. And there's a pose called power pose. Many of you know, but you stand with the shoulder width or a little bit wider if you can, but shoulder width is a very safe spot to stand on, and your arms out to the side. And I purposely wore this giant sweater that was gifted to me from one of my clients. And you hold yourself big. Take up the space, everyone. Take up the real estate. Okay. And then maybe, tap your feet, bounce on the ground, get grounded and hold that position. And as you hold this position, eyes wide open, I want you to imagine what it is that you're envisioning this year. What is your clear focus? Be specific. Take slow, slow breaths all across the body, the torso, through the sinuses, through the nostrils, so you can build up your nitric oxide. Hold that vision. Don't hold so many. Hold one today. And you may add 1 or 2 more, but hold one. And then go ahead and close your eyes while you're holding that position if you can. And imagine that you're listening to that vision through your horns and antlers. And you're chewing on that vision through your crocodile mouth, swallowing that through the neck of the snake. And the belly consumes it with this water creature snake. You're metabolizing this vision. And you're going to swim through with the scales of a fish that can maneuver through water. And you're going to walk this journey with the giant paws of a tiger. And those gripping strength, the power of the hawks and falcons. And you're going to see this vision through your genie eyes. Good. Slowly come back to your standing or seated. And I'm going to wrap up today. And let's see if anyone has any questions. And if you want to raise your hands, you can, I believe. So we'll maybe another 5 minutes.
I'll read a couple of the questions that have come in so far. And just some of the comments too that are coming.
Let me before we answer questions, like, let me know, how was that for you? Was it helpful for you? I'm in postmenopause and I need to hear, like, I'm to the point, thank you. I'm to the point that's like, I need to have my soul foods as well so that I can continue to do my work. So I'm going to be open about it. I really need to hear how this was helpful or not. Even if it wasn't, let me know. I can take it. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad. I'm really glad.
Okay, so there's a lot of great feedback coming in. I also saw a lot of sparkles and fireworks in the those of you that are sharing your screen. So thanks for those. I'm just going to pick out a few of them, Masami, and read them. And there weren't a lot of questions specifically so far that I've seen, but let me read a few comments. So Chin Tao says, yes, helpful. Thank you, Masami and Chris. Appreciate and grateful for your generosity. Jacqueline says, inspiring. Mary Basse says, this was beautiful. I need to hear this now, having just scored my 75th birthday. And happy birthday again, Mary.
Happy
Um,
birthday.
Helen says, thank you. This was so helpful. Judy, thank you so much. Jeanette says, I need way more time to log into an exercise, but I'm going to repeat it in my own time. Judith, superb. Rachel is very helpful. Thank you. Anushka says, yes, yes, yes. And I'll maybe hold it there. There are a lot of great heartfelt comments coming in, and thank you
Yeah.
for all of those. Uh,
Okay, now I'm ready for questions.
so I'm going to just start with a couple that came in. One of them is more of a comment than a question. I've lost track of it because you've all been very participatory on the chat today. So going from memory here, but it's from Chin Tao. And I remember that she said something to the effect that this year of the dragon was the beginning of a 40-year cycle where the heart is really at the, was it 20 years? 20 years. Okay. A 20-year cycle where the heart is the sort of operative energy. And I wanted to bring that out just because we do an annual program every December, right before New Year's, called Waymaking. And the theme for this year coming forward was tending the soul fire. And that tending the soul fire not only has the fire energy of the dragon, but it also has the fire energy of the heart. And so this was a really important thing that all of us can remember. Masami talked about it at several points today. But what makes your heart come alive? What lights that fire in you at that level? I think that was a really important thing to bring forward. A
And
couple.
Chris, I wanted to say, everyone, that I think this year's Waymaking, which was tending to your soul fire, was one of the best programs we've ever taught. And this is going to become this year's kind of a guiding light, tending to your soul fire. So we will make it available for those of you that still want to do it. We will put it available on our website. Okay. And it's just incredible what we went through. We went through different chakras, but also we went through different Ayurvedic dosha-based things and Agni-based information as well in there. And we revisited the earthly, like a beginning of this earth kind of a thing. That was a meditative conversation. That was gorgeous. So, and if you did that program, please go back and revisit that. This is going to be the key this year. All right. And I'm ready. Oh, and then, side notes, everyone. I'm going to create a video on YouTube for each of your zodiac moon sign and what you want to look for this year in terms of what part of the body. And so which organs, which systems, and then as well as a intuitive question. So I did that for you for last year's questions, okay? And that was the video that I posted last week. So please go to Masami Covey on YouTube and you can see a 5-minute, it's a literally 5-minute video, which I take you through the lunar zodiac sign. So your lunar sign, that's not a sun sign, okay? So I'm partial to lunar, sorry, everyone. More and more I go into postmenopause, I'm like, moon, okay. So those are the questions, those are intuitively, those came to me. So I posted them for you. So do that over the weekend so you can wrap up the energy of the rabbit, okay? Which was challenging for many of us because it was very distracting, okay? Hop from one thing to another. It really made us kind of chaotic. So go back and answer the questions based on that. And we're going to be out of town for a week. So I will post the YouTube for all of you based on the moon sign, okay, in the YouTube in the coming weeks. And I will send all of you the email about that, okay? So please look for that. Okay.
So, Masami, we're entering the rapid fire stage of the call today. I wanted to just comment. I put up some links just now that for those of you, this may answer some of the questions that are coming in. So one I just posted up is how to find your moon sign. So if you scroll up to that, you'll see that there is a link there. This is a very easy one that you can use. You need to just plug in your date of birth, time of birth, location of birth, and then it will tell you actually your whole astrological chart, but it will give you your moon sign as part of that. So this is what Masami's talking about, is you want to know your moon zodiac sign, not just the sun sign. Another link that I put in was the YouTube channel. I posted it a little bit earlier as well, but you can click that and find all of the videos that Masami mentioned today. And on the replay video, we'll also link those videos specifically when we post it. And
yeah,
then,
why don't we do that too, the where to find your moon sign and all that. We'll post all
yeah,
that.
we'll post these links, but you can find them here as well as the Waymaking program Masami mentioned. We actually, unpublished it afterwards, because today is kind of the cusp of that day. If you're still fired up and ready to do this and you're ready to take that on, it's a couple hours to go through it. But I just reopened that back up. It was kind of a spontaneous thing. We weren't planning to do that. So it's
I
there
know.
for you if you want to do it.
Yeah, I just felt it sharing it because I think that's going to become such an important tool for us, the tending the soul fire. And then I shared a lot of tools, how to tend to the fire inside you. Yeah. Okay. And other questions? Anybody brave enough to raise your hands? Because if not, we will wrap up soon because we've kept you long enough.
And Rosemary, if you don't know the exact time of your birth for your moon sign, I think there are other tools out there that will let you approximate it. You'll probably be able to get close enough knowing the day and the location. That should get you close enough for the purpose of the moon sign.
So what I would do if you don't know exact time of the birth, exact time of the birth will give you the exact sign, but the lunar cycles changes around 2.5 days. Okay. Every 2.5 days. So you can look up the one that's like 2 days prior to your birth and maybe 2 days past your birth and make sure like where those signs are. And sometimes one will be the same and one will be different. Then you'll have two signs that you can look into. I hope that made sense, right? Every 2.5 days they change. So yeah. Okay. So I think that's it, everyone. And then I will work on the YouTube. Who knows? I might get in the mood and write up intuitively write up your questions today and then post it. I don't know yet, but yeah, do check out the YouTube later on for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. I think Roseanne just raised her hand.
Hi, Masami, how are you?
Hi.
It's been a while. Yeah, I was trying to type it in. I was trying to find the raise hand button and I finally found it. I have such a hard time. I am very much a night person. I have such a hard time switching those nights to days. And I keep saying, I'm trying to move it up. I'm going to be in bed by midnight. I'm going to be in bed and it just never seems to happen. I'm either in a second, energy shift, or I just didn't quite get done what I need to do before I go to bed. Right. And then sometimes after I go to sleep, I can't.
I get this
Yeah,
question a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, I have to work with the biology first and the physiology and the circulunar cycles, but also circadian rhythm. And when people say that, number one, you just have to spend the next 90 days, so 3 months, working through slowly shifting your timing. Okay. You just can't do this overnight. You cannot do this in a week. You will get frustrated with yourself.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
You get frustrated. That's why you have to give yourself 90 full days. So first 30 months is to introduce yourself to a new pattern. Many of you have heard me talk about this, right? The second 30 days, so into the 60 days, that's when you are practicing the new patterns. And by the 90th day, you have actually personalized it and has become a part of your pattern. So you just have to look at and say, it's going to take me 3 months. And I cannot support women going to bed late. I'm sorry, everyone. I have too much of the biology and physiology understanding of how important our hormones are, how our digestion is. And so, many women I work with to say, I stay up late and this and that, but I understand. But at the same time, you have to spend the 90 days working on reversing the clock, because that means there's something deeply inside you that is not in balance. It shows that you're out of balance. So no amount of supplements, no amount of dietary changes, no amount of positive thinking, no amount of meditation, no amount of, fascial releases are going to help you until you really realize that I need to spend the next 3 months slowly working on my biorhythm. Okay, because we do have such thing as a biorhythm. And I don't know, some of you have noticed, but the book that came out, I don't even know, maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little less, about the, different types of sleep patterns or something. You're like an owl, or you are, I don't know, something like that, 4 types of sleep or something like that. That book has been debunked. So that's why nobody's talking about it anymore. Okay. So, if you bring that up in my private sessions, I will debunk you again and say, no, that's not how biology works. Okay. Biology is work with the cosmic flow. Okay. So I'm going to, if you have other questions, I'm going to have you set up a session with me. Okay.
Okay. Sounds.
All right. So I have Donna that raised her hand. So Donna.
Hi, thank you so much for this. Yeah, I feel like you're speaking right into my soul. I have been getting up to watch sunrises. I've never really been a morning person, but I just feel called to do that. I go to bed at a childlike hour now because I want to be up first thing in the morning. And I bought this big poster that I had matted and framed of the lunar cycle because I heard you speaking with Mindy Peltz, and I was like, yay, somebody's talking about the moon, because I feel so driven by it. But I can't seem to find information that resonates with me. It's all just general stuff. So do you have videos on that, or a course in it, or
So
eating with the moon?
feel free to reach out to me. I'm writing a book right now. So I am sharing a lot of my research right now, but I also have to be careful how much I share, because we do live in a world that people will take whatever they can and turn it into their own course. So I'm very cautious about it. But I just did the Lunar Wisdom course, okay, a workshop, and it was just a little over an hour. But
Is it
I
available on video?
so you need to reach out to me. Yeah, it's
Okay.
available on the video, and it was just done on Thursday. Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's all focused on menopause and postmenopausal women. And
Great.
so that's who I'm focused on, because I do strongly believe that we are of the people that have been completely ignored. You know, there's a lot of information around perimenopause now, thank God, right? And then we do have a lot of information on menstruating women and the puberties and, you know, different hormonal cycles that we go through. But what about us? What about me, right? So this came to me strongly through Moon. I didn't ask for this. Moon started speaking to me really strongly in end of 2019. So this is where I go into the woo-woo land, right? And I don't shy away from it, because I am both Japanese and American, okay? I'm East meets West. I am a science, and I'm also spiritual. So I want to balance them. But that's when I started studying about the lunar cycles and the circulunar cycles, okay? And then the impact that has on the pineal gland also. So more to come, okay? More to come, Donna. So this year I will be sharing, but I do have to be careful a little bit about how much in depth I can share in a public forum, because that is something I have to be careful. But in my YouTube, I share it every new moon and full moon. And I always bring up what areas of the body is getting impacted at this particular moon, and what areas of the body, and how you can assess that and address that. So stay tuned to that and reach
Subscribe
out.
to the YouTube channel.
Say it again.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, MasamiCovey.com, and you'll find me. Yeah.
Okay, great. And is that how I can reach out to you as well?
Go to MasamiCovey.com. That's my website. And then email me through there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And just say Moon Course, and then I'll be happy to assist you there. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Well, we have a little more hands. So for those of you that need to step out and take care of your bathroom businesses and all that, please do. But I will, since we have some questions up, I love it. So I will answer a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap up. Okay. Noreen.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for holding this. It was very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, my question is, when does the dragon year start? I've seen different dates everywhere. I know it's a basic question, but is there a particular day, or is it a time period, or how does the dragon year transition in?
It started today.
Okay, today. Thank you.
Yeah. It basically, technically, it started yesterday because it was a new moon, but today is the celebration day. And I stuck with the Chinese calendar instead of the Western American calendar. Yeah. So it's actually today. So it's February 10th. And thanks for asking me that. I didn't even mention that. So
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, Lisa, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and I'm going to go to Anushka, and then we'll wrap up today. Hey, Lisa, I can hear you, I think. Lisa's not there. Okay, so I'm going to mute you again. And Anushka, you can unmute yourself. You were so enthusiastic about this call that you joined me yesterday. So I'm glad to see you today.
Yes, I did. Yes, thank you for your call. It's
You're
very, very useful. But I have another question about hormones. I'm
What
52. Hormones.
Oh, hormone.
Menopause hormones.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm going to have to hold back on that, because
Okay.
I cannot go into that in today's call, right?
But can I? Yes. I will say another thing. Can you help me, because I'm like 52, and I'm already 13 years in menopause, and yes, my relationships is very bad with my boyfriend because we don't have any sex life anymore because of the pain while
Well,
intercourse.
yeah,
And
you are.
can you help me with that?
Well, of course I can,
Okay.
you can reach out to me.
Mm-hmm. That
The-
was my question.
This
Yeah.
is the work that I do, right? So
Okay.
if you went to menopause that early on, you were struggling with the hormonal dysregulations for probably quite some time. And it's some
Yes.
medically induced menopause, can happen with that. So
Mm-hmm. It was caused by an accident.
yeah. So sometimes, tremendous stress, whether it's surgery,
Mm-hmm.
it's a impact in your body can throw our system completely, and you can go
Mm-hmm.
like almost overnight for some women. So
Yeah.
no, I'm sure it's been really, really tough for you. Okay. And I think one thing I can tell you right away is that begin to notice the lunar cycles. Okay. Just
Mm-hmm.
when is the new moon? When is the dark moon? Dark moon is the little before the new moon. I talk about it a lot in my YouTube too, but it's when you need to begin to like rest and slow down, having earlier dinners and things like that. That can be really helpful for dark moon period. So start to incorporate some of that, and
Mm-hmm.
as we head towards the full moon, you might have a little bit more energy that is coming up. But, for a postmenopause and menopausal women, we have to do things quite differently and support different systems differently. But one thing I can tell you is that you may want to look at when's the full moon and build some of your, increase your protein intake heading towards the full moon. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Because the fats and proteins are very important, but especially, really good saturated fats, right? Because that's what converts to your sex hormones, right? So, you're still
Okay.
producing hormones, okay? But it's not at the level that you can sustain your body with, right? That feels good with. So just make sure you're digesting fats really well, taking care of your liver. Those things are going to be very important. So, but yeah, it's too in-depth right now to talk about. If you want to reach out, like, Donna said about maybe possibly doing that course the workshop, it's like a little over an hour, but jam-packed with information about post and menopausal women, how to work with the lunar cycles. Reach out to me.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for sticking around. And I look forward to being with you throughout this lunar year. And yeah, thank you. And I'm just going to scroll through it and just wave at all of you. So thank you so much. And happy Lunar New Year to all of you. May your journey be exciting, intense at times, okay, but be grounded, okay, and take up the space, okay, take the real estate, open your arms up, there you go, yeah, and ground yourself and fly at the same time, because that's what's going to happen. Okay. Namaste. Bye, everyone.